the game last night. You weren't watching it because Bengals, yeah, Joe Burrow's good, but are they really the best? And my in-laws are from Cincinnati, but I'm not really interested in the Bengals. But the Bills, oh, Josh Allen, he's from the Central Valley. I mean, so yeah, that's worth something, I think. I mean, he's a good quarterback. The Bills over rely on him, and so they kind of break down and they're not as good as they were at the beginning of the season. But yeah, two great quarterbacks, and quarterbacks. That's the reason why you got to watch these things. But I was kind of, as they say, equanimous. I was not watching. I wasn't paying attention. In fact, the Warriors were playing. I thought, oh, I'll watch the Warriors. I'll see. Klay Thompson scores 54 points last night, and they have to go to double overtime. It was an incredible sports night, unless you were really focused on the football. And then I went back to the football during the first quarter just to see where we were. Was there snow on the ground? Was it going to be cold? What kind of game? And then I see the play. And then I see Damar Hamlin go down. And this is a news story. I mean, it's not a concussion. And this is like, you're just stunned. And then you see this all happening. Then the news stories or the news stations, finally they come to and they say, well, we can't talk about January 6th. We got to start talking about football. Lawrence O'Donnell starts talking about football, starts talking about how he had his football helmet. He did a study on football helmets in high school. Oh, that's how he got into Harvard, huh, Lawrence? No, I like Lawrence. But, I mean, even he's starting to talk about football. Now, CNN, everyone's talking about football. This becomes the national conversation. It is topic A. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. I was actually writing my piece. I was going to write about, this is episode 460 and show 459. I'm thinking about Barbara Walters. I'm thinking about Pope Benedict XVI. I'm thinking about the Purdue slur. I wasn't thinking about Damar Hamlin. Not until like late in the night, and I said, oh, shoot, I've got to be thinking about Damar Hamlin because Damar Hamlin is the news. I mean, when do you have a situation where, I don't know if Monday Night Football is still this dominant, but it is the game on Monday. It's the only game. Sports fans, they might be pulled between basketball and other things as well as Monday Night Football, but that's a primetime game. And when have you seen them do CPR on a player? I mean, when a player goes down, people think, oh, concussion. No, this was not concussion. I mean, if you saw it, then you know the first quarter, this happened. You rarely see this. Hamlin, a defensive back, number 3, stopped the ball carrier. Receiver got the ball, started running, runs high into Hamlin's chest. And Hamlin absorbed the force and tackled the player down. Normal, his face down to the ground, right? He got the guy, stood up, then promptly collapsed and fell backwards. That is not entertainment. That's when we all blew the whistle on football. And we've been blowing the whistle on football for a long time now. Because if you notice the game now and try to compare it to when you were growing up. I mean, for me, growing up watching football in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, football's gotten a little safer. I mean, if you look at the way football was played in the 60s and 70s, that was practically MMA compared to the way it is now. Now you might say they coddle the players a little too much, but they coddle for good reason. Because if you don't coddle certain players like quarterbacks, they will get hurt. I mean, there's a reason why I say, hey, You play football when you can play football. Pee Wee League, Pop Warner, high school, pro. If you played at any one of those levels, college, pro, yeah, you got a taste. And you were in the fraternity. But when I played football, and I'll talk about it a little later, you could be a small guy. Now they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. And this was a shock to see them actually apply CPR on Damar Hamlin. CPR. I mean, later we found out a defibrillator was used. One of the docs on TV said, yeah, he conjectured that, blunt force, bad, Hamlin's chest maybe caused ventricular fibrillation, cardiac arrest. That's where the heart can't pump blood throughout the body, causing a drop in blood pressure so extreme that Hamlin collapsed. And for the next few hours, I was just stunned. I'm the news guy trying to, well, where's the news? Someone get out to the hospital. Someone, show me what's going on in the football field. What are people saying? It was news. It wasn't football. I mean, truth be told, sports information, sports journalism, generally, the quotidian everyday kind, is kind of like, here's the scores, here's what's happened. It's kind of PR for the teams. They give access to the to the players. It's PR for the teams. But here we needed some news because this is life or death, right? They suspended the game, and it seemed like it was going to be temporary, but no, it was permanent. They suspended, no further play that night, yesterday night, last night. And really, how could there be, right? I mean, as people have noted, that wouldn't have been the case 5-10 years ago when there was this sense that the show must go on. And as I said, football has kind of gone from Neanderthal to more modern, but for some people it's still kind of Neanderthal-y, or at least it's more brutish and more, when you start seeing those icons, of the Megatron type player, because the football players are big now. I mean, you go out to the stands and you go on the sidelines. They're like a different breed. They're large, they're bigger, faster. It's like, and it's almost like basketball, you figure, yeah. Baseball, not so much, although there are a lot of 6'5" pitchers. A lot of, first basemen are 6'5". But in football, there are a lot of big guys. And it's almost like, God, this is like a different species, right? I mean, but because of that, it just means that football is even more dangerous than we think, even though we try to do things that make things safer. Is it the helmet? Really? The helmets are really that safe? Why are we still having concussions? People in concussion protocols. Maybe we should reconsider the idea of making it even safer, because when Damar Hamlin went down last night, these players, you realize they're human. They're not robotic gladiators. They're not there for our entertainment, to bet on fantasy football leagues and all that kind of stuff. And as we all waited, we were all like with Damar Hamlin, whom, I knew nothing about really, except, he was a defensive back. He was a safety. And I just thought, oh, Damar Hamlin. I know a lot of these safeties around the league. You just hope you need a good defensive back, team. And he seemed good. He took over from somebody who got injured, and there he was. Seems like a good guy, but I really think this message has to trickle down to the college, high school, and youth levels, because there, the people were talking about how many times have people died on the football field. Oddly enough, in pro football, only once or twice. The cases are very few in the pros. But in college and high school, in both a game situation and in practice, you would be amazed at the number of players who have died in high school and in college. STAT, which is the science arm of the Boston Globe, they traditionally put out an annual thing that shows how many high school kids die from college or from high school football. And this is today, 2022, right? Or now it's 2023, but when STAT did something, I think STAT did something in 2021. I couldn't find the 2022 version. But it's happening now. And this is a time when people are more aware and they should be talking about it. Certainly, they're talking about it more at the high school and youth levels now than when I played. And that's where I had a scary moment. I mean, in my day, they taught you to lead with your head. Yeah, your head. Use your helmet. The helmet is your friend. I said, okay. I mean, I was a concussion waiting to happen, right? One time I did, and I just totally blacked out. I blacked out. No one administered to me. No one asked me. No one cared for me. I just shrugged it off because that's what I was taught. I was taught to be football tough. But, I came to my senses. I quit the team. I never played again. And really, it was like walking away from the football brotherhood. And you could see it last night when Damar Hamlin was being administered to. And you could see it on the players' faces. Medical staff administered to Hamlin. They all knew. They knew then. They know now how dangerous this game can be. And now the fans do. Hamlin, they were playing a clip on one of the Bills networks. Hamlin is saying, this was from November, because he's starting to play well and people are noticing him, and he was doing stuff, using football as his platform. He had a toy charity. He was popular in Buffalo, became a fan favorite. He said, quote, I cherish life every second that I can. Every second of every day. This guy, wise beyond his years, right? He said this in November when he talked about praying with his fellow defensive backs and holding their hands, grabbing hard. And why? He said, because you never know when the last day could be that you get to experience something like this, something like playing football. So I'm cherishing every moment I can. The words of Damar Hamlin back in November. And now he's critical in a hospital after suffering from a cardiac arrest. Fortunately, they had all the prime gear ready. They had the defibrillator, the AEB, I think they call it, AFB machine, to not just give him CPR, but to try to stimulate the heart. And now we're waiting to see an update, to see if it was applied within the necessary amount of time so that he can have the kind of life that he had before this accident. it's touch and go. It's a matter of seconds. And so here he is. We're talking about Damar Hamlin, and he's the one player all of America roots for, which is why it's interesting to see the political drama that's being played out right now as I speak. As I speak, 5 o'clock, 5:15 on the East Coast, a third vote. Kevin McCarthy appears to have been defeated in a third ballot for Speaker of the House. I mean, this is embarrassing. This is not just embarrassing for the Republicans, although it is. It shows that, hey, Republicans are not ready to lead. The dividers of divided government are divided, and they can't even do the easy stuff, which is vote for a leader. Now, Kevin McCarthy of Bakersfield, not necessarily one of my favorites, but a Republican in California. This is the minority of the minority. A white man from Bakersfield who was thought to be the favorite to be speaker. He couldn't get 218 votes. Not the first go round when he was nominated. He had to beat Andy Biggs. He had to beat Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat. Andy Biggs was a MAGA guy who was nominated by Paul Gosar, who was a favorite with white supremacist groups. This whole right-wing MAGA group has really stymied Kevin McCarthy because in that first vote, Democrat Hakeem Jeffries, an African-American from Brooklyn, got more votes than McCarthy, 212 to 203. 212 meaning that the Democrats hung tight. 212 to 203. This third vote appears to be 209 to 201 with McCarthy losing. A second vote that where Jim Jordan, the strategy was to have Jim Jordan, one of the MAGA types who likes McCarthy, to nominate McCarthy. The first time McCarthy was nominated was Elise Stefanik from New York, who is, she's a moderate, she's more moderate than the weird Trump folks, Trump MAGA folks, but, and Harvard educated, Elise Stefanik, but, you know, there are a lot of those extremists like Elise Stefanik out there. She nominated McCarthy, lost on the first ballot. Second ballot, like I said, Jim Jordan, the strategy was, oh, you get the wrestler guy to nominate McCarthy, and that will bring people in line. Didn't. Jim Jordan couldn't do it. McCarthy lost again. And his strategy is to keep going, grinding out rounds of votes, which take about an hour or so, until McCarthy wins. But now it looks like the third ballot, where the strategy was, let Steve Scalise, you remember him, the congressman who was shot at the baseball game by, some kind of domestic terrorist. Well, McCarthy lost again. It appears as if the vote was 209 to 201, with 20 voting for Steve. I think that the 20 was for the other candidate. The other candidate appears to be Jim Jordan. Chip Roy nominated Jim Jordan. It's funny, McCarthy, according to reports, just seems to put on, he has no other strategy except to keep putting himself out there, saying what he did the first go round. Hey, look, I earned this. I'm the guy. I'm the guy who has led the Republicans. I led us out of, all the Trump stuff. I'm here to be the majority, not just the majority leader, but the Speaker of the House. And it's not working. It's not working. And for as much as McCarthy bootlicked Donald Trump the last 6 years, the hardline right wingers, the MAGA folks, denied McCarthy a victory. It seems that they have denied him a third time as I speak. And if you watch the replay of this, because I'm live now speaking, but this could go on at least maybe 4, 5, a fifth round until someone realizes that one group, the McCarthy conservatives, and he has some, he just doesn't have 218. He's got 201, or he's got 203, right? 203 the first time. And this third time looks like he has 201. And 19 detractors, which is above and beyond. It's all it takes to block him. Well, actually, 5 is all it takes to block him. But there are 14 others who say, hey, we're with this MAGA wing. We don't like you, Kevin McCarthy. You ought to go back to Bakersfield with your MAGA hat tucked between your legs because we know what kind of a bootlicker you are. God, when the best line is spouted by Matt Gaetz, the guy who is running away from an underage sex trafficking ring charge, appears on Fox more than he appears in House chambers because he's not really interested in governing. He's interested in being a MAGA mouthpiece. Boy, when Matt Gaetz has the best line saying that Kevin McCarthy has sold more shares of himself, that he has really hurt his own chances of being speaker. I mean, that's a kind of truth that you don't expect from Matt Gaetz, but it's true. I mean, up to this day, that's what Kevin McCarthy has done. He's said, I want to be speaker, and this is the kind of horse trading I'm going to do. You could take 3 of this and give me 2 of that. Take 3 of this and give me 2 of that. You give away 3 and take 2, you're going to be in deficit soon. And right now, the speakership, as envisioned by McCarthy, in order to get the votes, has been whittled away so much that it should be apparent maybe in the third vote, or maybe the fourth vote, because we've had the third vote. And reports say that hardliners are already discussing, let's adjourn. Because, the Democrats aren't going to adjourn. The Democrats love this. The Democrats are saying, the Republicans on the first day of the 118th Congress. Congress has they're numbered, 118. When I worked at Congress, I was at the 103rd. So that's how far away it was when I was walking the staircases there. 118. This is normally a big celebratory day when everyone says, hey, welcome to Congress. Congress is a lot like junior college. You go there 2 years and then you flunk and do it again. 2-year terms, right? And no, it's better than junior college. I'm sorry. But this is supposed to be a big day. Families were there. They've had 3 votes. They might have a 4th unless they adjourn. It's 5 o'clock back in the East Coast. And they want to go. because the longer they go into prime time and they show that they are dysfunctional, they show the Republicans. Actually, it's not just the Republicans start to hurt themselves, yes, immediately, but they start to hurt the institution of the Congress. And I think that's really the role of the hardliners. The hardliners are just, they're not interested in governing. I've been saying this a long time, that conservatives who are small government conservatives, they don't care if government screws up. They're not interested in it. But fortunately, there are some conservatives who are conservative. They know that the country has to pay its bills. The country has to function. We can't function as a Congress until we have a speaker. That's why this first day is important. And the Republicans can't, who are in the majority, the Republicans can't even elect a Speaker of the House. And there's Nancy Pelosi sitting pretty saying, well, I guess the American people see the Republicans aren't ready to lead, and they can now appreciate just how well the Democrats were when we were in charge. I mean, Nancy Pelosi didn't say that verbatim, but you know that that's what she's thinking. And the American public should be thinking that too, because we're into a third round, or it looks like the third round from all of the counting and the reports. 209 for Hakeem Jeffries, 201 for the Republicans, with 20 big solid obstacles, votes against McCarthy. At some point, McCarthy's just going to have to say, well, this was my dream as a Bakersfield High driller. He went to Bakersfield High. They're known as the drillers. You know, when you start calling yourself by your high school mascot, things are pretty desperate. This is not the driller's day. Kevin McCarthy, I never really liked, well, I don't like Kevin McCarthy, but I don't like him because he has flip-flopped on so many things. From, remember his speech after January 6th? He said, we're done with Trump. And then he went down to kiss the ring. He comes back. I'm back with Trump. I mean, he's done that so many times. And I think maybe that's why the MAGA types don't trust him, because they see him as the compromise guy. So who might emerge? I mean, Kevin McCarthy has to understand that I don't know if anyone thinks there's a path for him to win to be speaker. But, and we're just talking about the Republicans in their majority just have to stay together. The Republicans just have to vote, and they can't because there's at least 5 against McCarthy, and now it's up to 20. They aren't ready to lead. They're dysfunctional, and they are showing they cannot govern. And so now they're thinking, how does the majority, the Republican majority, save face? Because they're not just hurting themselves, now they're hurting the entire institution. And of course, the Democrats, if they leave, the Democrats want to stay in the quorum, because as more of them fall off and say, yeah, I'm going to go home and watch television on Tuesday night, or I'm going to go be with my family, they're visiting. The more of those Democrats that go away, it lessens the number of people that the Republicans need to put Kevin McCarthy in the speakership. Right now, he needs 218 votes. He's not getting it. And he's being stubborn, Kevin McCarthy, and the MAGA types are being stubborn. And so what a I mean, it's a disaster. It's a disaster for the Republicans. And even though I say it's good for the Democrats, it shows that they're together, they're adults, they can govern. But it does show how deeply divided, not just the country, not how deeply divided the country is, but how deeply divided the Republicans are. We're a divided government, and the dividers are divided. I think that's the thing that gets me. And yet, all this a day after Damar Hamlin, Buffalo Bills professional football player Damar Hamlin, is still topic A. I mean, more people watched Monday Night Football than are watching this GOP vote for the speakership, which all the major, cable stations are carrying it, because it's good to see democracy in action. It's good to see civics. And this is the first time in 100 years that a majority couldn't elect on the first ballot a Speaker of the House. First time in 100 years. Kevin McCarthy is an historic loser. And he's going to go back to Bakersfield. I don't know what he gets to do. I mean, I don't know what job he gets. He's just the guy from California? The guy who bootlicked Trump? And this is politics. And I go back to the 103rd when I got to Washington the first time, and if you don't understand, or if you don't see this on a regular basis to understand the rules of Congress, I mean, not that you should, but maybe you should in order to see just the kind of BS that goes on in Washington. It doesn't have to happen this way, but you do have a set of people who are just out to make the government look bad because they're not interested in governing. They're interested in, to use the standard phrase of Edward Abbey, the activist, actually he was an environmental activist, they're just interested in throwing the monkey wrench into things. And they're doing it. And who am I talking? I'm talking about the Matt Gaetzes and the Lauren Boeberts and the Margie Taylor Greens, who Margie Taylor Greene was all for Kevin McCarthy, but she couldn't convince all her other folks in that MAGA wing of the Republican Party to say, hey, let's vote for Kevin McCarthy. They're not budging. So America's not together. Even the divided can't agree on unity, right? And that's why last night was kind of interesting to see Damar Hamlin get hurt and to see everyone come together. I mean, the country came together. Damar Hamlin he's the one football player all of America is rooting for now. And if it hasn't sunk in, you got to remember what President Obama used to say. That America, in politics and life, you need to understand we're on the same team. Damar Hamlin helped us understand that we're on the same team. It was a football field in Cincinnati this week. We were. But man, back in Washington, we are not on the same team. And we really should be. And while Congress especially the Republicans, are making fools of themselves. They're the majority. They can't lead. Democrats, they're sticking together. They're a solid 209, 210 for Hakeem Jeffries, who will be the minority leader. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can consider in subsequent ballots. Like maybe people start talking. This is politics, right? Maybe people start talking about, well, how about we have the Republican majority, but because no one can agree on Kevin McCarthy, why not have a coalition type government where Hakeem Jeffries becomes a leader, though representing the minority, the Democrats. That's almost too practical. I just put it out there because it's all possible. It is all possible. Just as if you want to be Speaker of the House, you could be Speaker of the House right now because you don't have to be a member of Congress. All it says in the Constitution is, hey, Congress approves a Speaker. That's it. Ah, the founders, leaving loopholes the size of Texas. Although they didn't have a Texas in mind. Loopholes the size of Delaware would be more appropriate. Anyway, it's kind of interesting. As I said, to watch the civics lesson play out is to just be appreciative of how our Congress works. And if you haven't been paying attention, I suggest you do. You can watch the news shows and get some insights from the reporting as you watch the votes. But if you just want to get it pure, you ought to check C-SPAN. And if you're, a veteran watcher of C-SPAN, many times, Congress is just the Capitol is just a television studio, right? Where there are people talking, they're giving speeches, the 1 minute, or they're giving speeches to empty chambers and just their folks are there. They just want to read things into the record. It makes it, when you go there as a visitor, you say, wow, Congress is just playing to the C-SPAN camera. There's no one here. They're acting like orators to great crowds. No. Today, though, on the first day for this vote for Speaker, full house. They were there because they wanted to get these votes down. But it's taken 3 ballots. And so far, all 3 times Kevin McCarthy can't get elected Speaker with his Republican majority. There's a revolt among the Republicans, and there's a solid core 5 who are against McCarthy, and he can't convince him. He can't horse trade enough. And this last vote, the third vote, is 212 to 202 to 20. And if I can see, the 202 is for McCarthy, the 20 is, I believe, for Scalise. Oh, excuse me. The 20 is for Jim Jordan, which is the interesting thing because Jordan is really for McCarthy. But the conservatives, the hardline conservatives, want Jordan, and we'll see how many ballots it takes for the majority of the McCarthy voters to switch and say, we want a new guy. McCarthy has to step down. I'm watching the screen and it says chaos in House as McCarthy suffers defeat on third Speaker ballot. So people are trying to figure out, what do we do now? Who do we have who can save the Republicans? Because apparently the reports are that there are Republican donors and people in districts who are watching this and saying, wow, the Republicans can't lead anything. They're given the majority in the House, slim, but a majority, and they can't elect a simple leader. So now it looks like the House is adjourning. McCarthy, 3 strikes, you're out. Maybe he has a come to Jesus moment. Maybe he has a moment where he says, I'm going back to Bakersfield. I'm going back to, I don't know. Maybe. I'm going back to Bakersfield. Bakersfield isn't so bad. Buck Owens loved it. Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. They're from Bakersfield. Cesar Chavez is from near Bakersfield, from Kern County. I drove through Bakersfield not too long ago, a couple months ago, on the way to the Mojave Desert, and then up, and then went up. I don't know what's going to happen to the Republicans, but if you're a Democrat, you're saying couldn't happen to a better bunch of guys and gals because they are imploding. It started with this takedown of Kevin McCarthy. He's not standing down though. I mean, he's not going down. He's like saying, I can outlast you. But at some point, he's going to have to say, this is it. It's do or die. And if I die, I can be king of Bakersfield. I don't know what Kevin McCarthy's thinking right now. But if we go to a 4th or 5th ballot or 6th ballot, if we come back and have 3 more votes and then adjourn and come back the next day and have 3 more votes and then adjourn and come back the next day. It took nine ballots in 1923. Do we want to go to a 9 ballot vote? I don't know. This is how the sausage is made. And the first time this happened, or the first time I saw something like this, or when I went to work in Congress and back in the 90s, you just don't have an idea of how this works. And then you see it up close, and I don't know. I think it's good that the American people see this. They need to see this, because then maybe they'll cut the Democrats some slack. Maybe they'll say, hey, Joe Biden working with Mitch McConnell on the Senate side, because Joe Biden was in Kentucky today. That shows, hey, that's how government works. That's how bipartisanship works. Now, a lot of people who are, can't stand politics will say, oh, those sellouts, the corporate sellouts. Well, if you want the government to work, pay its bills, do its thing, bipartisanship is the way right now, right? Unless there are leaders who can say, we are for a working government, a coalition. But this is what we got after 4 years of Trump, after 2+ years of Biden. We had to right the ship. We're heading in the right direction. But maybe this is proof that the Republican majority is not long for the world. 2 years, Congress. This was just devastatingly embarrassing for all America, but mostly for the Republicans. They've adjourned, but who knows when they come back. All right. Wow. I mean, it's been interesting today. While we were on, we're commenting on what we're commenting on Kevin McFailure. That's what he is, Kevin McFailure. And there are people who love this in politics. The people who love Schadenfreude politics. They're saying, Kevin McCarthy. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Couldn't have happened to the hardliners have said no to McCarthy a third time. Denied him the speakership. Now, there's something for the people who are really ultra religious. There's something about 3 times, about denial 3 times, that maybe this is it, right? Maybe he comes to his senses. Let's hope. Kevin McCarthy, and steps down and says, I'm going to open it up to have another guy. And you've seen the 2 or 3 whom the Kevin McCarthy majority might be happy with if they didn't feel compelled to vote for McCarthy. And that would be Elise Stefanik. That would be Damar Hamilton. Oh, sorry, not Damar Hamilton. The football. Now everyone's for Damar Hamilton. That would be Stefanik, Jim Jordan, and Steve Scalise. And if it's Steve Scalise, I mean, people were talking about Steve Scalise yesterday. Possibly. But we're going to need a few more rounds. It's attrition. And you see why at the end of this, why maybe the only thing that you can say is, this is why people don't like politics. This is why people don't like elective politics in this country. All right, but it's ours. It's our democracy. We have to like it. And if you don't like it, go and run and be a better representative than Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's not interested in governing. All she's interested in doing is disrupting democracy instead of trying to get stuff done, which is the point. Anyway, hey, this is my show. I do this show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific live. It's a talk show. I mean, just imagine if Rush Limbaugh were skinnier, more Filipino, and a whole lot more liberal. That sounds like a fun show. Well, yeah, that's what a traditional news talk show, talking about life, talking about politics, news. And so this is what I do, 2 p.m. Pacific live, Monday through Friday, right here. You can catch it on Emil Amok on Twitter. If you like to watch it on Twitter, you can go on Facebook at Emil Amok 1, EMIL AMOK 1. Also, we're on Facebook at fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Oh, that's a mouthful of meal. Yeah, Emil, or FB, Facebook, facebook.com/EmilGuillermo.media. There, it's up on the screen. And then, what the heck? Just go to my website at www.amok.com, and I put the replays up there. All right. Now, I also do this show, another kind of show. I do a more theatrical show, where no singing, no dancing, but I tell jokes. Emil. Yeah, like, hey, I'm Emil. Come eat me. Okay, that's kind of a basic joke. There are better jokes. But hey, I'm Emil, come eat me. That's a funny joke. I'm Emil. That's email with a typo. No, I talk about my life in media, my life as a Filipino in America. It is absurd. And the title of the show is Lost NPR Host Found Under St. Mark's. It's at Under St. Mark's Theater in New York City, 94 St. Mark's Place, February 16th. I am giving you the dates now so you can just like mark your 2023 calendar. I mean, because right now, right, you got to fill it. You got to fill it up. 2023. February 16th, 8:10 p.m. Saturday, February 18th, 5:20 p.m. Thursday, February 23rd, 6:30 p.m. Saturday, February 25th at 12:20 p.m. Sunday, February 26th at 7 p.m. Friday, March 3rd, 8:10 p.m. and Saturday, March 4th at 10:20 p.m. 7 performances only. Oh my God. That's less than K-pop. Well, yeah, you know, I don't know why K-pop didn't make it in Broadway. But I'm not on Broadway. I'm off Broadway. So check it out. Check it out. It's Lost NPR Host Found Under St. Mark's. It's part of the New York City Frigid Fringe. And just mark your calendar, and I'll tell you how to get tickets. In fact, not only will I tell you how to get tickets, I'll tell you how to see the show without going to New York. That sounds impossible, Emil. Well, it sounds impossible, but in fact, it's very possible. So, check it out. Keep it here. More details to come. And so that's our show for today. Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Dog update. The correct name of our dog, our new dog, is... Got to think. I'm thinking of her name. She has so many names, I'm blanking. The correct name of our dog is... God, this is not good. I can't remember. I see she's jumping on me. I can see her jumping on me right now. Well, it's Billy. How can I forget Billy? Billy. The name of the Lakeland Terrier in a book that my wife read. Billy. And, you know, we got her in the holidays. So she's kind of like Billy, holiday, fawn, which is a color of a dog. Fawn, the fawn color. It's like a deer. Billy Fawn Wren, because she's bird-like. Oh, I get all the animals. It's a dog who's bird-like, who's like the color of a deer. Billy Fawn Wren Holiday Rockette, because my goodness, this dog has long legs. I mean, she's a rockette. She could do a holiday dance. Billy. I couldn't think of Billy. Billy Fawn Wren. That's her name. Holiday Rockette. It's a complete total name. I'm just getting used to it. And when she stops chasing the cat, life will be wonderful again here in the Guillermo household. All right. So we had a national civics lesson. The national civics lesson will continue. We'll see. We'll see how long it goes, because it could go on for a while. Maybe it'll go on until January 6th. Imagine that. Remember, in 1923, it took 9 ballots. And this time it was the first time in 100 years that a majority couldn't elect a speaker on the first ballot. Historic division. And remember, we are divided by politics, united by football. Because that's the one thing we can all agree on. Damar Hamlin. We're rooting for Damar. We're rooting for Damar. And we got to take that empathy and take that love that we have for football, and we got to like spread it around. Share it among people who we don't like Republicans or Democrats, whatever the case may be with you, in order to find that kind of unity, that we're on the same team kind of unity that this country so desperately lacks. All right, one more wipe and we're out. Hey, thank you for listening, watching again. Back again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific. We'll see. We'll see how much of the national civics lesson we get. This is episode 460. See all the rest of our shows on amok.com. Store them there. Regular listeners know I like to meditate. I'm just going to end with the saying, the meditation is about loving kindness. And it's based on these prayers that we do. We imagine someone we love, or we imagine someone we don't love. And we just think about sending out this loving vibe. And what's that loving vibe? You say, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Emil Amok. Till next time.